So for this question, we have two terms. Again, they're separated by an addition sign, and so we can differentiate term by term. Now, the x to the fourth, that is very straightforward. It's 4x to the third, bring down the 4, subtract 1. Now, this 2 over x term, though, is not as straightforward, because remember that in order for the power rule to work, the power rule requires that we have x to a power, but it can't just be anywhere in the problem. It has to be in the numerator. So when we are looking at 2 over x, that's not in the position to start using the power rule. So I have to rewrite this term as 2 over x, 2x to the negative 1. Okay, so the 2 is going to stay in the numerator. The x to the first comes up into the numerator now as an x to the negative 1. So this will become, when we take our derivative, as we discussed, the x to the fourth just becomes 4x cubed. And then this 2x to the negative 1, I'm going to bring down the exponent. And we talked about how this 2 is going to tag along. So bringing down the exponent is really going to be 2 times negative 1 to give us negative 2. And then x, and then here we subtract 1 from the exponent. So I have negative 1 minus 1, so I get negative 2 as the new exponent. Okay, so that is an acceptable format for the answer, but be careful in your simplification, because sometimes people can get a little carried away with the simplification. Notice here, remember, our terms are separated by plus and minus signs. So here you have 2 terms in the derivative, you had 2 terms in the first function, and you also have 2 terms in the derivative. So when you start to bring this negative exponent down, it's only going to go down in the second term. Moreover, this 2 does not have a negative exponent. So the negative 2 will stay in the numerator, but the x to the negative 2, that will go down into the denominator and become an x squared. So negative 2x to the negative 2 becomes negative 2 over x squared. And then the 4x cubed, that term remains untouched. So another way that you could write this derivative would be as follows. But either of these are perfectly fine. So like if you wrote it this way or you wrote it this way, it's perfectly acceptable. Usually we try to get rid of the negative exponents, but when you do, remember it's just the second term that had the negative exponent, so it's just the second term that's going to be impacted and changed when you have that negative exponent brought down.